Okay, so I'm Pearl. I'm from Dorset County Hospital down in lovely, sunny Dorset. We had the luck and the privilege to actually get the patient management system last year, and we went live in August. And you know, my talk today is about how we got to grip with entering the data. That's how I felt initially. It's how am I going to do this, and you know, which is the best way to approach it. And the first thing I thought was, it's going to be a long road. I'm going to need to accept that. It's not going to happen overnight. And this is a process that's going to build up value. Every time you put a patient on the system, the value of that information that comes out increases. And I think that's key. So overcoming the frustrations initially were, you know, looking at the long view, realising you needed a strategy of when you were going to put information in and when you were going to put the legacy information, the data backfill in. It's not just about seeing the patients in clinic and adding new information, it's about that history that we need. Those patients that have got drug allergies, etc., it all needs to be on that system. So the first thing we decided to do was that we'd actually put the data in for the active patients. So if we were seeing them in clinic, those were the patients we were focusing on. So if they were a very complex patient with a big set of notes, instead of putting that one at the bottom of the pile, which you felt like you wanted to do because it was a lot of information, we've made that a priority. So use the system at every consultation because, as I say, every patient you see, you will increase the value and the richness of the data that you can gather. So including patients from the beginning has been really helpful. It may be you need to look at your consultation environment. Have you still got a desk between you and your patient when you see them? Because actually I have mine sitting next to me so they can look at the screen, they can see their information, they're involved in it at that point. It makes all the difference. It shows them, one, we're listening. You know, we're able to recap the consultation at the end because we're doing data entry in real live terms and the letter is being generated at that point. So a patient can leave the building with their letter. They like this. It makes them feel like they're really important because they are, aren't they? You know, that's why we're all doing it. So the next sort of section is moving on to unravelling the data and what we've been able to do in a small way locally, the value of that information for us. One of the things was looking at how many patients we've actually been able to consent for the registry. And because we've been doing that from day one at consultation, we've been lucky in that those figures have come up showing that we've managed to consent 407 patients. We've asked 409, so we've only had 2 patients decline consent. And I think the reason that is again, making it about them, ensuring they realise that if they consent to this, the value is for the patient. Yes, it's important for us to help us benchmark services and ensure that we can competitively, you know, bid for funding for our services. But ultimately, we don't want to do any of that for any other reason than the patient. So as long as they know that that's why we're doing it, they seem to be very happy to consent to the process. The 2 that didn't consent, I can't really answer why. Maybe some paranoia there about what we were doing with their data. And I have gone back to patients who perhaps had declined consent and rediscussed later on, and that seems to have been the main issue, is people are worried about what we're going to do with their information. Are they suddenly going to get calls from Talk or PPI claims or people knocking on their doors? So the reassurance that that's not going to happen is probably key and seems to make all the difference. So if we look back at a snap bit of data that we managed to use to our benefit, we were able to look at the calls that we took on the helpline that had clinical value over the period of 10 months from when we went live in August. So we equated just over 1,100 calls, and the visits that we saved to GPs, A&E and outpatients are as seen below. What that then allowed us to do was take that information to the CCG and say, this helpline is really valuable. We'd like it funded, please. So when they renegotiated the contracts this year, our helpline is now funded. That's the first time in 20 years that it's actually been given funding. So, and that is, you know, I'm just singing again Dorset's praises. Dorset was one of the first places to have an IBD nurse in the country. Sheila Phillips set up the helpline way back. You know, I think I was just thinking about setting off into life in my early 20s when Sheila first set up that helpline. So it's a really big step to start seeing it being funded. I'm pleased with that. And just to finish, this is still done in sleepy Dorset, and if we can do it, anyone can. You know, everyone thinks life is laid back and the pace is quiet, and yes, it is, but it's still important to gather that information. Our patients are just as important as your patients in London, Edinburgh, Liverpool, wherever. So even if you think your trust won't make a difference, it will. We are. Look, I'm here. How did that happen? Thank you.